welcome to the Chamber's Quarterly Breakfast. I'm Marty, your host, and Allison Flannery is on vacation, so you're stuck with me as we thread our way through a great program today, and I want to give a big shout out to Heidi Dobbs Foster from the town of Prescott Valley for working on putting this program together, because so many great things are going on in the town of Prescott Valley, and the businesses need to know what's going on in order to keep engaged, keep communicating, let others know what's happening, and kind of continue to build us to be the wonderful, awesome, dynamic community we've got in Prescott Valley. Is that not right? I would like to shout out to a couple of my board members here. Eric Strobel, I know you're out here. There you are, Eric. And let's see, who else was here? I know Frank was going to be here, and Danny was supposed to be here. Okay, they didn't make it yet. What? Oh, Diane, there she is. She made it, too. Diane Tennyson from Pierce Property Management, Eric Strobel. He's our first vice chair, and Diane is one of our board members and directors. I always recognize that it's important to make people feel special, that you see things, you tell them. And that's one of the things I just want to tell you today is I don't have a long speech because I really want to get to our program and a few little entertaining moments, but share with each other the beauty of our business community. Be kind, share the good news, support one another. If you good experiences, put them on Facebook, put them on their Yelp, help them. If you have a bad experience, shut up. I mean, hold it back. And sometimes it's not easy, and it's not even easy for me. And I go out, you have a level of expectation, and as a CEO, I expect my businesses to perform because I believe you are the best of the best. That's not always the case right now, right? Staffing issues, COVID issues, coming in product issues, delivery issues. It's crazy out there. I hear it every single day. And yet, we're so quick to say, my pancakes were cold or they were late or whatever, and you don't know that, your server's serving 10 tables. So, cut them some slack or else stay home until it's easier. Please understand that sometimes somebody doesn't just, I experienced this just the other night. I went to a restaurant that typically is open till 8 o'clock. They were closed at 6, kitchen was closed because there was no staff. And it's like, oh, okay. Let's do plan B. And we went somebody else, and it didn't matter. So, if I can say anything right now at this time that, as we're kind of dealing with the really weird stuff, and I know the hospital is one of them that's, struggling right now with a lot of things going on. Help each other. Don't take each other down. Let's do that. Let's build Prescott Valley. Let's be the example of other communities that say, we're going to take that message not only to our community businesses to support one another, but it will trickle down. And others will see like, wow, they're not doing that. So that's my only message today is just as we move forward in the holidays, that's going to look really crazy. Please just remember those messages. And, if you have a friend that might do something like that, don't hesitate to call them out. It's like private message them. I saw you posted something about, such and such. Maybe you don't think that that's probably the best idea to do, and perhaps they will listen to you and pull it down. And that does happen. So be a voice of positivity in the community. All right, couple things I'm just going to share because it's crazy, but we got the holidays coming up. See Kim, Valley of Lights, sponsorship opportunities. She's got on a mission to build that. We've got Jeff Schaefer out there already designing, laying out, and putting out the displays. So any interest there's a variety of sponsorship opportunities. Talk to Kim. Also, the Holiday Festival of Lights Parade is coming up on December the 3rd. Friday, December the 3rd, and this is a great way for businesses. We always have CAFMA out there. A lot of businesses put in a float, light it up, put your name out there, so that's a great way to get out in front of it, and we'll be working on that. And Jean Lupa is part of the staging, Katie's part of the staging, and their mission is to have as many floats and make it as the biggest parade ever. So come on out, and if you don't know how to light up your float, we'll show you how to get a little generator on the back and give you lesson 101 on getting lit, okay? All right, and we are great on time. You all have a good breakfast? Shout out again to our catering, because now I get to eat in a few minutes, because Allison is not here. She's on vacation. But we want to pause for just a minute, take a little commercial break, a little promotional break. And if you ask me you want to do this, chances are I'm going to say yes, because I think I need to turn it out. There's something happening with the Boys and Girls Club coming up. So who's going to talk? Who's going to share? All right, let's give it up for our one of our dancers. And I know President Lisa Ryan is also here. So I don't know. I might have to make her do what you do. What do you think? No, here you go.
Hey, everyone. I'm not going to be speaking very much about this. I'm going to leave it up to my partner, Jamie Prochnow. But on your table, you'll see some sponsorship packets for the Boys and Girls Club. I'm going to let Jamie explain to you, if you don't know quite how important the Boys and Girls Club is for our community. So, Jamie, this is all yours.
Thank you, Kel. So another hat that I've worn through the years was I was a foster parent for 8.5 years. And so I'm a mom of officially 8, but far more than that. And so something, it's more than just the children that I have served. Or I guess what I would say is that my heart says this. You can continue to be reactive to the crisis that we face, or we can be proactive. And the programs offered at the Boys and Girls Club offer us exactly that, an opportunity to be proactive rather than reactive. An analogy that I once heard, and it really resonates with me, is that we can see, there are children floating, they're coming down the river, and they're going to go off of the waterfall's edge. And so people are jumping in to save them. That makes sense. Of course, that's what we want to do. But is anyone going to stop and go upstream and see what's causing them to fall in the first place? And essentially, that is something that the Boys and Girls Club does very well. Their statistics are phenomenal. And the difference that it makes in building and reinforcing families and children is incredible. I would encourage you to look at some of the success stories, not just in general at Boys and Girls Club, but even here locally, and what this program has done and the difference that it's made for our community's children. And so this is your opportunity. It's an opportunity to support one of the rare and beautiful programs that actually seeks to stop the children from falling in the river to begin with. So, is there more I can say? Anything else you want me to speak to?
Packets on the table. All the money, in good fairness, Dr. Ryan is also a dancer, and it doesn't matter who you sponsor or who you donate to. It all goes into the same pot, and it all benefits all the kids. And this is so important. Just please consider that. If you want to see us dance, you got to buy a ticket.
No, Cal. No. Get up here. You got to at least do one little turn here. You made me a deal, and I'm going to hold you to that. Get up here and do that turn. Ready? Make him get up. I said, you want me to do this in my program? I think I'm going to have to see you do a move. You got to bust a move, baby. Whatever you do. Just a something.
See, there's so much to this. There's so much to this, we're not sure.
5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. And again. And as you may know, we do have a Boys and Girls Club facility at the corner of Robert Road and Luce that has grown and serves so many of the kids in the Prescott Valley area. So this all supports all the clubs, but we do have one right here that we can see a direct impact from. So again, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Dr. Ryan, for stepping up, because I know what that's like. And now I'm going to introduce our first speaker. And he introduced himself a little bit, but I'm pleased to actually have him in his first formal presentation to a Chamber of Commerce membership, and that is our new town manager, Gilbert Davidson.
Well, good morning. What a great morning and just an awesome event. I first want to say, preface this, is I have been here now a little over a month. What is awesome about being here this morning is there are faces that are starting to become friends. And today, I close on a house, so I'm going to be. So I'm here for the long haul. So it's going to be good. I also want to say, and I've paid him very well, but I have one of my oldest friends from undergraduate days at the University of Arizona here, James Perry. So I just want to shout out to him. I've paid him to make sure that there's no stories shared of life in college. So as you can imagine, when you start in a new place, and I've been very familiar, I grew up in Arizona, actually in Wilcox, Arizona. I had family that lived here in Prescott Valley years ago, and being a native of Arizona, spent a lot of time traveling to different places. But when you start looking at where you're going to go professionally and want to land in a place and be a part of a place to help take it, to that next level, it's important to reach out to key individuals to make sure you get a good feel and sense for the place. And the first call I made was to Marnie, and she and I shared a dear friend that just recently passed away. And when I called him, he said, "You need to call Marnie," and he gave me her number, and I called Marnie, and she called me back, and we had an incredible talk. And I just, as your representative for all things business related, you have a person that just speaks so glowingly of this community and represents the business interest extremely well. And so I just want to recognize Marnie for what she does from behind. Also, I have 7 bosses, and I want to thank them because they have given me an opportunity to serve you. And so I want to thank the mayor and the council members for being here today and their enthusiasm. You have some incredible representatives that are working very hard to try to do great things for this community, and I'm very excited about the future of that. But it is truly about service. I want everyone to think about that. The whole purpose of a local government is to serve you. There's no other reason to have another layer of government in our lives than to do enhancements for the quality of life. So it's making sure our road infrastructure and connectivity, the codes to make sure that we're safe, parks and recreation so that we have great amenities, the work that's being done behind the scenes to help support that effort. Every single person that works for the town of Prescott Valley we're about service, and it's to make sure that we do great things for this community on your behalf. So that is going to definitely be a theme that you will hear and see from me and all of our team members, as we work to do great things for Prescott Valley. I wanted to share a little bit about who I am and my kind of career path, and then I'll just highlight a couple things that I think are going to be really exciting for Prescott Valley going forward. So as I mentioned, I grew up in Wilcox, Arizona. I don't know if you've ever been on I-10 going towards New Mexico. If you blink, you may miss the exit to my hometown. But it was a wonderful place to grow up, and it was in that town, where, being a very rural place, that you learn about the importance of relationships, the context of history, and so those things certainly are being brought forward as I'm now part of this great community. I went to the University of Arizona, as I mentioned. I won't talk about our football program at all. I got razzed quite a bit yesterday about that, so it's just awful, absolutely awful. Yeah. You guys earned it. You guys earned it. But growing up, I always had an interest in government. I was one of those kids. I did student government. Was a student body president. I was U of A student body president. But I always had an interest in business, and I was always a budding entrepreneur. I had a lemonade stand when I was little and made some money. Would mow some lots and just to earn, some extra change. And so I always kind of, in both parts of my brain, had that drive. But I had no clue what profession what that would fit both of those molds. And it wasn't until I was in college that I found a mentor that had been a former city manager. And he started sharing stories about city management. And the light literally went on in my head. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, this is the perfect intersection of being involved in community and the government process, but also how do you take government and run it more efficiently and effectively on behalf of people. And that's what the council manager form of government is all about. So when I found that, I just, it really inspired me, and that has been my career path. I actually went back to my hometown, which I never recommend going back to your hometown to be the city manager of. They all remember when you were a little kid, and they can all share stories about you. But it was an incredible experience there, learned a tremendous amount, and then was recruited to the town of Marana, where I was a part of helping to build that community all through the early parts of the 2000s up through 2017. And we did a lot of exciting things, and certainly learned from that experience and want to bring that forward to our great community here. I then one day got it was actually a text message from the state asking if I'd be interested in serving in Governor Ducey's cabinet as the chief operating officer. I had no idea that the state had a chief operating officer, but I went through the process, and I was appointed as the state's chief operating officer, and had an incredible opportunity to serve at the state level. In my role there, I oversaw all 35 state agencies. Don't ask me how one person interacts with 35 different state agencies, but it was an amazing experience, tremendous relationships, and again, all of those things that I hope that we can bring to bear for our great community here. And that is what brought me here. I knew when I went to the state, my heart, again, has always been in local government. I feel that's where you really get to see when you have an idea, you can actually, carry it forward, and you can see people's faces and interact with individuals in the community. And I think that's very important. And so I knew I wanted to get back into local government. And when I saw this position open up, I knew there was something calling me to it, and to be a part of all the things that you guys have already been a part of to build a solid foundation. But I know we can do even more in terms of building our business community, adding new businesses, growing our tourism, and doing some really exciting things from a community-wide perspective. So I won't share the details of this, because that's really going to be for the mayor and the council to get out there and really talk about this. But I am so excited that the council has already engaged in a comprehensive strategic planning process. So our council is now starting to think multiple years into the future of where we want to position Prescott Valley. And so over the next number of weeks, a few months, we'll be making those announcements of what is contained within the strategic plan. But what I can say is it's going to be foundational things. It's going to be the good blocking and tackling. Back to my U of A football program, should be doing that type of stuff. But it should be those foundational things that we do exceptionally well. And I want each of you to think about how important that is as business leaders, business owners. When you get too far out ahead of yourselves, you begin to sense that, right? But when you get back to why did you start the business? What is the why in the business? And how do you do exceptional customer service? How do you make sure that every product that you're selling meets that highest expectation? And just like you, we have to earn that every day. People have choices where they live. People have choices where you put a business, where you invest your hard-earned money to build a business. We want this always to be a place where we attract new families, new individuals that want to move here, put their life savings into a home and be a part of our community. And we absolutely want to make sure that our business community is thriving. I cannot say this enough. The business, without businesses, without wealth creation, without jobs, we wouldn't have anything. It is you guys that pay the bills. It pays for the public safety that we have. As the chief had mentioned, you already pay that. Without what you guys do, we wouldn't have all of the great things that this community already has, and what we want to do well into the future. So I take that very seriously in working with you guys and making sure that we're being responsive, and certainly working through the council to make sure that we're addressing those critical needs. So I am really excited about our future, and it is great to be here in Prescott Valley, and look forward to getting to know all of you in the months and years to come. So thank you very much.
There they went. Okay. Well, as Gilbert said, talking about looking forward to the future, one of the things that the town does every 10 years is a general plan update. And so we've got General Plan 2035 looming out ahead of us. And so speaking to that is Wayne Balmer, who is a consultant to the town with this process. So please welcome Wayne.
Good morning, all. My name's Wayne Balmer. I'm a consultant to the town on lending a hand to complete your new general plan, as was mentioned. I was in Mesa for a long time, then I was in Queen Creek for a long time, and they were both rapidly growing communities. And when they asked, could I come up and lend you a hand in another rapidly growing community, I said, sure. I'm not Eric Pfister, as you know. Eric left, his last day was last Friday, and so that's why the town's asked me to give him a little hand here. But everybody in this room is concerned about the future growth of your community, your businesses. How will the town look 10 years from now? Well, the council's concerned about that, and Gilbert's concerned about that. Want to have the best possible community for you, for our residents, for new people to perceive the town, coming off the highway, you say, what else is there? And there needs to be that substance for them. So that's what I'm doing now. The general plan, you may have heard about them. They talk about what will the housing be in the future, what should the businesses be, what kind of parks programs, public safety, what do we need to do to improve all those things in our community. But all of those go back to what's the vision for the community? Where do we want to be in 10 years? Council's very concerned about that. How do we know we're all on the same boat? We're all moving in the same direction. So that's part of what we will be doing. As part of that, we have 2 surveys that are going to come out on our website in the next day or 2. We're going to publicize them and try to get as many people to fill them out as we can so that we get some public input into this process. Normally, we'd be doing neighborhood meetings around the community, but right now with COVID, some people won't come to a meeting unless you wear a mask, and others won't come if you make them wear a mask, and some just won't come at all. So we thought we'd try this electronic option to see how many people would fill it out online. They're going to be, if you're familiar with SurveyMonkey, you just click the little thing or you fill in the blank. And we'd really like all of you to participate and ask anybody you know to participate. It'll be a site on the town's webpage. And so we're looking forward to getting that. We will be having meetings in October and November to look at the draft general plan. December, we hope to have it all finished up so it can go to the council for their review and move forward through the process. It will be on the ballot in the fall as part of your election cycle, and so we want to be sure that everybody has had a chance who's interested to look at it, to lend us their voice, to work with the council to make it the best plan we can. But I have 2 questions for you this morning. And everybody needs to participate in these. And we heard some of it from Marnie this morning. If you were to describe Prescott Valley in 3 words, what would they be? Prescott Valley today is a blank, blank, blank community. Okay, what's the first word? Awesome. That's a good first word. What's the second word? Dynamic. Third word? Okay. Awesome, dynamic, friendly community. Growing. That's another good word. What else? Thriving. Good. How about this table? Kind of quiet over here. Welcoming, that's good. Chief, what do you think? What would you say? A word for what Prescott Valley is today. Delegating. Okay. Pardon me? Family oriented. There's a little hyphen in there. That can be one word. Family. Good. What else? Safe. That's a good word. Optimistic. There's another hyphen in there. Great education. One word. What else? Loving. Ooh, that's a good one. Diverse. So beautiful. Good. So resourceful. Good. So think of all those words. How do they affect your business, your future, how you see the community developing, what you would like to see here 10 years from now? This general plan goes to 2035, so we'll be looking ahead. So this is the second question. What would you like Prescott Valley to look like 10 years from now? 3 words. Who wants to start with the first word for what Prescott Valley should be 10 years from now? Innovative. Thriving. Friendly. Opportunity. What was over here? Sustainable. Chief, what do you think? Safe. Safe should be high on everybody's list. How about over here, this table? Destination. Key one. How do you get people to recognize Prescott Valley as its own entity and it's worth their time to, how many people went to a Northern Arizona Wranglers game this? Good, good. I came up to watch the Rattlers play the Wranglers. And you drive down 69, okay, that's Prescott Valley. I turned right, you go into the building there, and I thought, am I in the same town? Did a time warp occur right here as I turned right? Because what you see north of the highway is not what you see on the highway. So how do you get people to turn right? How do you get them to come up to the town center, to the community facilities you have there, get people to come up to the Finley Center, show what Prescott Valley is, or in 10 years from now, what you would like it to be. And that's where all of you working with the council, working with the manager, to say, this is the vision we want for our community. Now, how can we get there? Not only the services, but how do we pay for it? How do we make sure everybody's on the same page? Because in every community, not everybody is on the same page. Some people are like this, some people like that. Some people like to grow, some not so much. So how do you balance those things if you're a council member to come up with a plan that everybody can generally agree on to get you where you want to go? So I will be helping set some goals and policies. We'll be talking to the school district. We'll be talking to the fire chief to help shape that vision that we can give to the council to make sure the council knows what the community wants, make sure we're all on the same page. So I may be talking to some of you in the future, and if you see our survey, please fill it out and use all those good words. And as you leave today, what 3 words would you personally say I like about Prescott Valley today, and what am I looking forward to seeing tomorrow? Well, that's it. Thank you for your time.
Well, I think Wayne kind of gets us, don't you? I think he's ready to put it out there and say, what do we think? So thank you so much, Wayne. I was remiss on the introductions. Mark Stone, Channel 56, is back there. He's recording this for future playback on Channel 56. Always a pleasure to have him with us. So, Mark, thank you. All right, our next speaker is Pedro Rodriguez. He is the Transit Development Coordinator for the Prescott Valley, and you might have been seeing a little bit of news on this Microtransit plan. So, Pedro?
Morning, everybody. Thanks for the introduction. Just wanted to come here today and just let you know a little bit more about Microtransit. My background has been in the transportation industry for a good, since 2009, 2010. Started with student transportation and then kind of went on to work in public transit after that. City of Scottsdale was a place I was at, and we had a trolley system there, so some circulators. And then came up here, worked for NACOG, Northern Arizona Council of Governments, wonderful organization as a transit planner. And then I'm here now with the town of Prescott Valley as your transit development coordinator. So a lot of good things happening here in the transit world. I wish to kind of give you some information of what's happening with transit. So I'll go through 6 microtransit questions and answers. This is kind of a cool logo that community communications from the communications department from the town of Prescott Valley has helped us out with. It looks really nice in my opinion. But we're working on the logo. This isn't, we're going to try to ask the town kind of what their input is on what the logo should be and things like that. So you'll see that here in the near future. So next slide, please. So the 6 questions, you can't have any more questions than this. So there's only 6 as they're related to microtransit. So, what is microtransit? What needs does microtransit fulfill in our community? What are Prescott Valley's microtransit goals? What will Prescott Valley's microtransit system look like? And what kind of vehicles will we be using? And how will we pay for this service? Next slide, please. Thank you. So yeah, what is microtransit? So it's kind of a buzzword or kind of a new sexy word right now in the transit world. There's a lot of transit agencies kind of moving toward microtransit. So microtransit is a shared ride demand response service. It's basically a door-to-door service. You can utilize your cell phone. You'll have an app, and you'll be able to say, okay, this is my location, and this is what my destination needs to be. And within 15 to 20 minutes is what you'll see. You'll see a vehicle coming toward you, and they'll pick you up and take you where you need to go. So it's kind of a different type of solution. Maybe what we're more used to or used to seeing, maybe like in the Phoenix Valley or in other places, is you'll have a fixed route system, kind of a schedule, maybe a big bus, right, a 40-footer, or maybe an articulated, kind of those accordion buses, right? And so, we get a little skeptical and say, oh, well, how will this kind of fulfill our needs? But it's definitely a little bit different. We have a big senior population here. We have students. We have people going to work. And so the solution's a little bit different. There's, and I guess continuing with my slide, I go into a little bit tangents here. But yeah, you can book it by phone, you can book it by your computer, or you can even call a customer service representative. So they'll be available there for you. And then the nice thing is that, well, what other places are incorporating microtransit? So this is kind of a neat opportunity that we have here in Arizona, at least northern Arizona. So we have Mountain Line and Flagstaff, NAPTA, and Sedona that are also going to implement microtransit. Flagstaff is a little bit ahead of us in that. Not that we're competing, but maybe I am. But so Flagstaff is going to implement their microtransit service here in the next month or so. And then Sedona is also, they actually just put out an RFP for microtransit service and shuttle to their trailheads. So that's kind of a two type service there, and they're going to have microtransit there in their town center. So a lot of communities are incorporating this. The cost is lower. Definitely, as I'll explain a little bit later, different vehicles. If you'd like to. And so, what needs does this microtransit fulfill? Or maybe this is more as to the why. So here you'll be able to still, our focus is on employment and job seeking. Medical appointments is another huge one. Grocery shopping, your basic needs. Schools, after school activities, higher education, being able to provide that transportation for people. Social gathering and events. And, unplanned events, you're tired or something happens to your car and, hey, can't get anywhere. There you go. And you better use it. Just kidding. Next slide, please. what are Prescott Valley's microtransit goals? So here in this region, we've had a lot of studies done for transit. NACOG has had plenty of studies. SIMPO, the Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization, they're another planning organization as established by the federal government. And so, you know, we've done plenty of studies, I think, in the last, 10 or 15 years. And so we finally have this opportunity to utilize this system. I'll go into the financials probably toward the end here, but we have this opportunity, $3.6 million of CARES Act funding. And so this funding is 100% federal, and there's no local match required. So the town of Prescott Valley says, hey, let's give this a try. Let's see what we can do with this. So I really appreciate that. And so part of SIMPO's latest plan, their trip study, there some of the goals that I found very that the town has incorporated for the microtransit system is that it should connect workers and job seekers. Transit services should improve access to essential services for older adults and people with disabilities. And this new investment that we're going to have is to utilize our current local transportation providers. So some of the taxi companies, some of the nonprofits, some of the we're trying to incorporate TNCs, transit network companies such as Lyft. Next slide, please. And then, so what will this look like for the town of Prescott Valley? So we're looking at 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday service. And then the part where we're incorporating the taxi companies and these other transportation, local transportation companies is we'll kind of have a transportation company pool, and out of that pool, per a rider's request, they put it on their phone, and then they're going to be able to select, or not necessarily select themselves, but the algorithm will select the nearest trip for them, the nearest vehicle out of that pool. So very exciting. And again, we're looking at about 15 to 20 minute wait time. The nice thing about it is that you can track it on your phone. Oh, my ride's coming, or oh, it's going to be here in 10 minutes. Okay, I can still go to the bathroom or something. And and this is kind of the first phase of this system. The second phase, I know there's been some attention to, can we expand the system within the town? Or maybe, there's some certain trips that we need to go into Prescott, that certain locations that we don't have here. So we'll discuss that probably here in the near future after implementation. But our priority right now is to start with this phase one and get things rolling, literally. And then, next slide, please. So the vehicles, so we'll have kind of the core of the system. So we'll have a primary contractor with that taxi or transportation pool also. We're going to start with one vehicle, and obviously this may not be enough, hence incorporating these taxi companies into this system, into the solution. And we're looking at these vehicles. They're a Dodge Ram. They are a 10-passenger vehicle. You can see that they'll have a ramp for people with disabilities or that have mobility challenges. And then we have again, 10 passengers. It'll have kind of your transit wrap on it. There will be an opportunity for advertising probably in the exterior, maybe in the interior of the vehicle as well. So that's another great opportunity. Next slide, please. And then, going down to, how will this microtransit be paid for? Again, it's going to be paid through CARES Act funding from the federal government. It'll provide us with 3 years of service. Right now, we started with, we're going to start with the purchase of a couple of vehicles. Our fleet is going to be basically 2 vehicles. And again, the nice thing about it is where we can scale it, or scale the transit services with the transportation companies, with the local transportation companies, which is nice. So after 3 years, we're definitely looking at, what's the sustainability part of this? Will this continue? And how will this continue? So that's definitely something that we're also looking at. But here we have kind of your average service of, pre-implementation of, purchasing the vehicles. And then years 1, 2, and 3, there will be ranging from the $700 to about $1 million in the transportation costs per year. And so, again, looking at that year 4, for that sustainability, and that's what we look to you. We look to other organizations that we can partner with and see how we can move transportation forward. But I appreciate this time I had with you, and I'm very passionate about transportation. I know there's a great need here in this area, with seniors, with students, with those unplanned events, with people going to work, to and from work. And I definitely want to, if you have any other questions besides this 6, I will answer them. So, yeah, definitely. We're looking at between $2 to $3 per trip. Yes. Not at this moment, but probably during phase 2 we can, if again whatever the town residents look and whatever we fall in budget and the town council approves. Good question. It's all right. You can. It was just 6 questions that I had. You can ask more. It's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Will there be some kind of a thing, maybe with NACOG or a voucher for those who can't afford the $2 to $3 trip for our low income?
So right now with this, we're going to kind of run 2 types of programs essentially. They may change, but we're going to stick to 2 programs. We already have the Prescott Valley Transit Voucher Program, so we're going to keep that going. And what that program is, it's the town has allocated about $50,000 a year for trips for town of Prescott Valley residents. If they need to go into Prescott or if they need to go within the town of Prescott Valley, that's fine. So we have that program still, and we don't want to, take riders away from that, or people saying, no, we're pushing them over here. So, probably at that 4th year, maybe we'll reevaluate, but we're going to run those 2 programs concurrently. Okay. Yes, Councilwoman Miller, or Supervisor Miller, sorry.
I just wanted to know, you're going to charge a fee, but maybe there might be a possibility if someone wants to use this on a regular basis, maybe there'll be like a pass that we can buy, that kind of thing.
Excellent question. Yeah, there will be a 7-day, 2-week, and then a 31-day pass that you'll be able to buy ahead of time if you wanted to. Yeah, excellent question. Go ahead.
I know it's Monday through Saturday. Why not Sunday? Where do I get to church?
We're religious, so no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's what the funding is available, and through the Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization, that was what their study outlined, was Monday through Saturday service. That's kind of what the demand, the major demand was going to fulfill. So, excellent question. Chief, another question? I'm just kidding. Oh, all right. Excellent. We'll talk after that. All right. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pedro. Yes, we did some business visits, so it's been a couple years back, and I know I'm working with Gilbert. We're going to plan some more, but one of the biggest comments and needs for the community was transportation, and I think that this survey that for the 2035 general plan, that always rises to the top as we're a spread out community in town, but how do people get around that don't have traditional transportation as vehicles, family cars, and things like that. And really, there's a lot of folks out there, and a lot of quality workers that can't work because for whatever reason they may not have a car, or circumstances, maybe their license has been suspended for a little while, but they still want to work, and that's a struggle. So thank you very much for this. This is a great program. Look forward to helping promote it, let everybody know that this is a good thing for our town. So thank you, Pedro, and also to our leadership for moving forward on this one. John Munderloh, Water Resources Manager, is our next speaker, giving us an update on water. And come on, John. If any of you, and I've interviewed John like dozens of times and been with him when he speaks, the man's brilliant. Follow any Facebook, follow any Nextdoor, all the people moving here. The people moving here like 5 years ago are mad because people are still moving here. And all they say is we're running out of water. So John is here to tell us all about that and to set at least all of us straight and how we can get that message going forward. So, John, welcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So I've been doing this for a while. I've been a water resource professional for 34 years, 17 almost with the town of Prescott Valley. I went to the U of A. Back when we would usually beat up ASU on the annual football game. But I took the seminal program in water resource management. I'm an engineer with a specialty in soils and water engineering. I then proceeded with 8 years of postgraduate education at the Department of Water Resources. That's where you learn how this stuff works. But I've been around the area a while. I was born in Prescott. I grew up in Skull Valley. Pretty small town. That's when I started my interest in water on our little farm. And Dad had me out irrigating and going after pocket gophers at a very early age. And I asked him where the water came from. And I still remember the moment when he took the cap off the well and showed me that kind of glistening little, disc down at the bottom of the well with the flashlight. So, small towns, you have a different perspective on things. And which kind of reminds me of a story of this city guy. He was passing through a small town like Skull Valley and decided to stop at the store and get something to snack on. Sees an old man and this dog sitting in front of the store. He walks up to him and says, "Hey, does your dog bite?" And the old man says, "No." So the city guy reaches down to pet the dog and he gets bit. He says, "Man, I thought you said your dog didn't bite." I said, "That ain't my dog." So it's, be careful of the assumptions you make and ask the right questions, right? So next slide, please. We'll get into this. Sorry, after breakfast, after several excellent speakers, I expect to put half of you to sleep, but I'll try not to. Have to lay a little bit of background on how water works in Arizona. There are two significant dates in Arizona water management. The primary one is 1980. That was when the state legislature passed the Groundwater Management Act that set forth the most stringent set of water management rules in the country. There was a background to that. Why did the legislature decide to suddenly go after water management in Arizona? And it was because of authorization of the Central Arizona Project Canal. That was to allow importation into Arizona. The Carter administration held back funding so until Arizona passed this act. So they were two sides of the same coin: importation of water, regulation of water resources here locally. So it targeted water, groundwater primarily, in those 5 polygons on the slide. Those are the active management areas. So 5 active management areas in Arizona. They don't encompass a lot of the surface area, about 15% of Arizona's surface area, but about 85% of our population lives in those areas. Along with that 1980 Groundwater Management Act, this big body of laws, the legislature also created the Arizona Department of Water Resources. So there's an entire agency, couple hundred people that are water resource professionals, that are water attorneys, that are hydrologists, that are scientists and engineers, that help set forth management of Arizona's water resources, especially in those active management areas. So the idea is that we can manage our water resources in a professional and thoughtful manner within the law and grow our economy. When Arizona began, 1912, it didn't look like we could have much of a population or much of an economy. So our founders back then understood water, understood the need to use the resources we had to grow, and also understood the idea of sustainability in the long term. So with the Groundwater Management Act came this goal of reaching safe yield by 2025. Well, in 1980, that was kind of a soft landing. They gave you 45 years to get there. Now it's, what year is it? It's getting close, right? We're not at safe yield yet. That's where you have that sustainable balance between the water you take out of the ground and the water that goes back in. A couple things that happened right away with the act: no additional irrigation pumping from 1980 forward. And I'll show you on a slide how that's had a big impact on our water supplies. And implementation of what's called the 100-year Assured Water Supply Program. So we'll talk about those as we go forward. Next, please. So one of the more significant things, or something I find is a misunderstanding of how water is managed here, is that it is the state who has held on to management of our water resources, and they have not passed that management mantle onto town councils. They manage our resources. They make the laws, the state legislature. They allocate water resources. That's the state agency. So another bit of misinformation that I see out there when people see growth, and they get upset when they drive down Glassford Hill Road and see a new rooftop going up. And they worry, well, what's happened to my water? Well, the water for that roof was allocated not when the roof was built, not when the building permit was granted, but when the lot was created. And so most of the lots in Prescott Valley were platted prior to 1999, actually. So when you see growth in Prescott Valley, almost all of it is based off allocations that were made more than 20 years ago. So it aggravates me when I see somebody who has just drilled a new exempt well outside the town limits and complains about growth in Prescott Valley. So another thing, the town can't reverse the state's decision. That would be pretty bad juju. The state will come after us, and they have. They've gone after other governments who thought that they knew better than the state and tried to reverse some of the state's decisions on water allocations. That's happened twice to Coconino County. They didn't learn the first time. Next, please. Sorry, I got to talk a little bit about hydrology because, again, there's a lot of misinformation about that. So that back one. There we go. So the little blob there on your left, that's the boundary of our active management area. But the colored area inside is really what we call the primary aquifer. So that's where you're going to find the deepest and best water within our area. Not that there's not some water outside of those, outside of that zone, but it is more limited. It's in hard rock aquifers or perched aquifers. It's also where you see a lot of people drilling what we call exempt wells. I always ask people when they call me on the phone, say, I'm looking at buying this rural lot, and I try to help people out, you know, if they're outside of town. Do I have water on my lot for the long term? And I say, does your lot have a view? They say yes, and I say no. Probably not, I don't know. But generally, when you're up and away from kind of the primary aquifer, you know, you're up and away from that water source. Another misperception is, what is the aquifer? It's not an underground lake. You know, there's not like some sort of Jules Verne type of environment down there, you know, with dinosaurs chasing people around or something. It's water that's held in the pore space of alluvial material. So all this stuff that eroded from mountains that were much bigger and landed in a valley that was once much deeper is, you know, it's dirt and rock and sand and gravel, and within that pore space then is the water. So that's what we can drill down into and access in that saturated zone. Ryan, I know you're looking at me, right? Because this slide has one of my favorite words of all time. It's the vadose zone. The vadose zone is the zone between the root zone, that's the depth of rooting, and the saturated zone in the water table. So there'll be a test at the end. Do we have any water? Are we running out of water? People drive by, they're new here, they drive by Watson Lake on the highway and go, oh my God, that's not enough water for all of us. Well, that's not our water resource. Again, it's in the aquifer below our feet. It's largely on scene. We know how much is down there because guess what? There are now 13,000 wells drilled into that aquifer. The majority of those are private wells. But every time a hole goes into the aquifer, they're required to report what they find. They're required to report the subsurface materials, the depth of water, and quality of water are reported to the Arizona Department of Water Resources, and they put it in this great big database. And then they also decide to monitor about 130 of those wells on a regular basis. It's called the Groundwater Site Index because hydrologists come up with cool names, right? So how much water do we have down there? We have about as much water as 2.5 Lake Pleasants, or if you do drive by Watson Lake when it's full, we have about 630 of those. So next slide. So again, it befuddles me that people come here and believe that the growth has dried up all the water, that somehow things are different now than they were. But going back in time, and this is all data from the Arizona Department of Water Resources. I don't make this up. I get in trouble if I do. So we're not pulling any more water out of the ground now than we did the year I was born. 1965. All right. So so in the early years, this was an agriculturally based economy. We pulled water out of the ground to grow crops. And if anybody'd been here any amount of time, when you drove through Chino Valley, right, Cutter? You drove through Chino Valley in the day, it was all green. You drove down Highway 69, down Orchard Ranch. Guess why that's called Orchard Ranch? It was an orchard. All that was green. Crops, people, that was our economy. Now that's been converted through proper water management. Remember, we can't build any more irrigated fields, and that established a water rights system for those fields, and now they've been converted to rooftops. So is our situation dire? No, it's not dire, but we are working towards that sustainability goal, and we need to. We're pulling out, if you can see the numbers on the chart, I know the screen's a little small, but that line that's below the blue line, that 10,000 acre foot marks, that's 10,000 acre feet per year, that's what the Department of Water Resources says is our safe yield limit. So if we can get our net groundwater pumping down to 10,000 acre feet per year, that would be the amount that is naturally replenished on a long-term basis, okay? So we're above that. We're at about 7,000 acre feet per year above that, right? About 17,000 acre feet per year. So that's mining, and that's what the state says, and that's what we believe is important to reduce. And the we in that statement is everybody, all the users in the active management area. So Prescott Valley's not responsible for all of the overdraft. Everybody is. Our net use from the aquifer is about 0.3% per year. So that's the net withdrawal. So we can't keep it up forever, but we do have time to deal with the situation in a calm and thoughtful fashion. That's what we're working on. Next, please. So are we growing unreasonably? So there were two seminal dates that are on this graph. So one's 1980. Prior to 1980, Prescott Valley had about 11,000 lots that were already platted. So when the state came in and started managing our water supplies, they said that's a committed demand. Whether there was a house on it or not, we knew there was a lot. We knew that there was probably going to be a house on it. So it's a committed demand. So 1980 forward, the state said you have to go and prove that you have a 100-year assured water supply for those new lots. And so the state permitted about another 11,000 lots in Prescott Valley during that time period. All of them had to prove that they had a 100-year assured water supply. But the state said, we'll let you mine groundwater to prove those lots for a period of time, up until 2025. So the allocation included a mined groundwater component. Understanding that you had a 100-year supply on mined groundwater, we didn't want to mine groundwater for 100 years. The state didn't. But you would reach safe yield in 2025, and therefore your 100-year assured water supply became an infinite assured water supply once you reach safe yield. So then the 1999 Declaration of Groundwater Mining came along, and the state said, all of you subdividers, all of you developers out there, you can't use groundwater anymore. We're not going to let you mine groundwater. We're not going to give you any allocations of groundwater. So that had a profound impact on Prescott Valley's growth, as you can see. So for the next 20 years, 21 years, Prescott Valley has seen the addition of 362 lots, and we expect to see another 290 come forward that have proven they have a 100-year assured water supply on a water source that's not groundwater, a sustainable water source. In this case, it's reclaimed effluent that the town takes from our wastewater system, treats, and recharges the aquifer with. So that's our trajectory. It's kind of grim, actually. You know, what are we going to do in the future? So, next, please. Again, I think I covered this. Prior to 1999, the state said you can have water down to 1,000 feet in the aquifer, but we understand it's mined groundwater. But you're going to import supplies. You're going to import new supplies to reach safe yield. After 1999, you don't get that choice. It's got to be sustainable. So if you say you want to be a sustainable user, go buy a new home. Go buy a home in Jasper. That's one of the developments in that small bar chart that has reached a sustainable use of water because the water that they're allowed to use is sustainable. All the rest of us are groundwater miners. Look at yourself in the mirror, little Lou. Or maybe it's the little, steel cap with the light, right? We're all miners. Okay, next, please. So is Prescott Valley doing a bad job managing our water resources? There's a lot of stuff moving around media that we're just horrible. We're drying up, the aquifer. This is our main well field. This is our central well field. It runs from basically the high school up that draw to the west of Glassford Hill Road. We've been able to increase water levels in our main well field by 150 feet. They're higher now than when we purchased the water company. The town's been in the water business for about 20 years. We purchased the Shamrock Water Company. It's a private water company in 1999. That's pretty good, right? Doesn't look like a very dire situation to me. That's our primary well field. We do that by being able to now, with a broader spectrum of wells and a bigger system, to spread out pumping impacts so it doesn't impact one area. It allows you to rest a well field just like a farmer would rest a cornfield. Next, please. Conservation is very important for the town. We've been able to drive down per person water use from a high of around 130 to pretty much an average of around 100 gallons per person per day. That's calculated as the water that the entire community uses divided by the population. So it's not just what you use at home, it's what you use, what the town as a community requires for schools and commercial development and parks and all of that. We had a pretty big spike in 2020. That was the hottest, driest, most pandemic-ridden year of our history, all right? So things were different. Got to wrap up. Next, please. Town recharges a lot of our water supply. We collect about 65% of what we serve, and we get about 80% of that back in the ground. We serve some uses that would otherwise use groundwater, such as the Stone Ridge Golf Course, and so that also acts as a deferment. Next, please. The town is currently putting in place a new injection well. It's the first one in our area. And as you can see, what that does is increases groundwater levels in one area. Pumping wells do reduce groundwater levels. That's how you pump water. You have to reduce the groundwater level in order to get water into the well. Next. And, there's a lot of different sources out there. I don't really have time to go into this, but the green bar on the bottom, we don't have to replace everything we pump because there is a natural component of recharge. That allows us to reach safe fuel. So the purple bars are recharged water. The town has, unlike what I've seen, the town has dedicated about 800 acre-feet of water per year to the aquifer free of charge for the benefit of people in the aquifer. And so that's permanent recharge. We get credit for about 1,600 acre-feet per year. That we can pull back out again. And with that, I'm gonna wrap that up, and I guess maybe a minute for questions.
Actually, I think it'd be really great. John is always available to speak to anybody about water. As you can tell, he's an expert. He'll get as high level, as low level as you want because he knows everything all in between. So, John, he'll present at any organizations that you have that might be interested in learning more about this again or keeping the update. Any big, giant question out there, I'll take like one. All right, please give John a round of applause. I mean, really, let's give him another round of applause. You now know more than you ever thought you would want to. But that's good because education and knowledge is being engaged and involved in the community. So we got that today. All right, I want to thank all of our speakers, actually. Gilbert Davidson, again, welcome to the best community in all of Arizona, probably all of the United States, as we believe here in Prescott Valley. So thank you for joining us. Wayne Balmer, yes, send the survey out. We'll answer those questions. You've got an audience here that'll do that. Pedro Rodriguez, brilliant. Transportation, microtransit plan, thank you. John Mundelo, water, and more water. Thank you very much. I'm going to, as my ambassadors come up to do the 50-50, I just want to do a couple more thank yous. Chairman Circle members on this board, we appreciate the added investment in the community and in the Chamber of Commerce. The town of Prescott Valley for supporting us in so many projects, but again, being our program here today at the breakfast. Gabby's Grill, got Chef Frank, Chef Brady there getting ready to clean up. They're always the first to get here and the last to leave, so thank you, gentlemen. The Event Spot hosting us, great location. You know, you can't beat the audiovisual, the AV we got here in the space, so thank you to the Event Spot. Channel 56, Mark, we look forward to seeing this on your channel there, and our government access channel. And I didn't mention John Johnson, Precision PC back there. He introduced himself, but he's also assisting us with our tech here today. So please give John a round of applause because he did all that for us today. So thank you very much. And he's also my go-to guy at the chamber right now. John, my email's not working. I think we all have him on speed dial, right? Kim, Katie, yeah. And of course, my chamber ambassadors that always show up and support us and make sure that our members are feel welcome. And also do our scholarship raffle. So I will invite them up to draw for that. The next quarterly breakfast will be here on January the 25th. We do move back 1 week because of Martin Luther King holiday. So the day, an event the day after a holiday never works well, as any of us in events knows that. So we do push it back 1 extra week. So it'll be January the 25th, again here at the Event Spot. And Kim and Audrey, if you're ready. Thank you again for coming. Any questions, feel free to reach out to us or any of our speakers and go out and make a difference. Have a great day. Thank you.